everyone, welcome to Make Moments Matter, a music education podcast, where I share lesson ideas, songs, games, and inspiring things for your elementary music classroom. My name is David Rao, and I am the music teacher who blogs at makemomentsmatter.org. This episode of the podcast is a replay containing the audio version of a Musical Mondays live video. If you're not familiar with Musical Mondays, every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, I go live on Facebook and Instagram to share about the lessons that I'm using in class with my students. I give a recap of my kindergarten through 5th grade lessons, and then do a deep dive about one grade level and share the books, instruments, songs, and process that I use to teach the lesson to kids. This podcast episode contains all the audio from the Musical Mondays video, but if you'd like to see a replay of the video itself, you can find a link to the archived video on YouTube when you click the link in the notes for this episode. Thanks so much for tuning in. Here's the show. Hey everyone, my name is David Rao, and I'm the music teacher who blogs at makemomentsmatter.org. You can also find my ideas on Facebook, on TikTok, on Pinterest, on Instagram, a variety of places when you search for my name, David Rao, or Make Moments Matter. Tonight I'm going to be talking about how I'm using ocean-inspired rhythms, or how I'm getting my students to practice rhythm using some ocean-themed resources, and I'm going to share a little bit about how I use that in a whole group setting, in like a small group setting, and then how you could potentially transfer that to centers if you wanted. That's in just a second. Really quickly, if you hear about any resources, ideas, things in these videos you're interested in, at the bottom of wherever you're watching or listening to this, there should be a link, direct link to this thing I call the links page on my blog, makemomentsmatter.org, under the video tab. You can find, I put all the links that I share in these videos in one place, so you can find all that stuff there. Okay, also, if you want to do some in-person learning and not learning through a computer or a phone or whatever, you can do that. I'm doing one more workshop this year, well, maybe another one in May, but another workshop in April with the Greater Rochester Orff chapter. That's on April 18th in Rochester, New York, and it's going to be a really fun workshop with the Greater Rochester chapter, so if you're around, come and join us. And then I'm also doing Orff levels this summer. I'm teaching Orff Level 1 in Orlando. There are still a few seats available. That's June 1st through the 12th through the Central Florida Orff chapter. Links to that are on the links page if you want to figure out how you can register, or if you're interested and want to learn more. I'm also teaching Level 2 at the University of Missouri in St. Louis, and that is July 6th through the 17th. And there are still some seats available for that. So if you're interested in Orff Level 1 or Orff Level 2, and you want to come and learn with me, or you're in one of those areas and you're just like, hey, that's close, we'd love to have you in either place. But also, if you're not around, there are so many great workshops all around the country. There's so many great Orff levels and ways to learn in the summer. So find the one that's close to you and go invest in yourself. It is absolutely worth it. Okay, so I want to share about this resources and how I'm going to use it with a whole group setting, and then how you can transition that to small groups, how you can use that in centers if you want. And the reason I pulled this resource out is because I just spent some time on spring break, and I know that many of my students also were enjoying the way I was, where I was on a beach for a week, and it was amazing. And I had some fantastic seafood that maybe I won't translate in this resource, but it was a lot of ocean themed time. And so I know many of my students also spent some time relaxing, enjoying, spending time with friends, and whether they did that this spring break near an ocean, or if they've done it near a lake or a river or something, like a lot of my kids have spent time at some point in their life near a beach or a river or stream. So I have some ocean and water and aquatic animal themed resources I wanted to use with them. Because I'm finding that, like, when I do, especially with my younger kids, when I'm doing rhythm reading, it's fine to just put rhythms up on the board or rhythms on cards for them to read, but they are way more interested if there is somehow like some thematic tie-in to any specific, it doesn't even matter, but anything. So with these resources I'm going to use, they are ocean animal themed. Okay, so the resource I'm using, I called Read the Rhythm to Explore the Ocean, or so, is that what's it called? Read the Rhythm, yeah, to Explore the Ocean, Under the Sea Rhythm Centers. Okay, it's in my TBT store if you're interested, and I put a link to that on the links page. But it's a bunch of cards that have ocean animals on them, and then underneath the ocean animal is a rhythm. It's not tied to the ocean animal's name or anything like that. It's just the kids will recognize, oh, like that's the shrimp card, or there's the fish card, or the blue fish card, the pink fish card, the what, they're just different ocean animals. Now these cards are all with the most simple rhythms. They're just quarter notes and eighth note pairs. So when kids are reading this, they'll just go and go ta, ta, ta-dee, ta-dee. And you might be able to tell these are very small rhythm cards, right? Like they could fit in just my hand. Let me do the cool influencer thing and you can see, okay, in my hand. But what am I gonna do with these? In a whole group setting, what I would probably start with would be I would get out my document camera, which actually I don't use an actual document camera anymore. I use my iPad and I mirror that so it projects up on the board. But you could use a document camera or something else that projects up if you want. And basically what I would do is I would pull one card, we'd read it together. I'd probably point along for my youngest learners and we'd go through and just read that card and then I'd say, okay, what about this next one? Let's read this next one. Probably several we do just the card and flip, do another one. And after several, I'd say, you know what, this crab is pretty cool, but I also like the rhythm on the stingray. Let's read them together. So we might read one and read the other and then we'd flip them. We'd try it. Okay, hold on. I found a little clam. How fun. Let's read this clam's rhythm. And so we'd read it and then we'd say, let's put it in with the other. So let's do the hermit crab, the stingray, and then the crab. Okay, and so these would be all under a document camera. I wouldn't be holding them up like this because it's kind of awkward to do. But we just read through. I'd probably try and work up to about 4. And we'd read through, we'd, just read the rhythms. Drop the sea turtle. Okay, must have that. So we just read through the rhythms, just go through like normal, no problem. Okay, and this is just right now quarter notes and eighth notes. I'd probably start with 1 and then do up to 4 of these cards together. And then I might say, why don't we add body percussion? Why don't we add a clap or a pat or well, with my youngest students, probably just a clap or a pat. I probably wouldn't try a snap or a stomp just based on the level of these rhythms and what I'm going to have them do with it. Probably would just be one of those easier body percussion options. Okay, so we would do that. We'd work up to maybe 4. Just again, this is whole group. Now what you could do is I could say, I've got all these rhythms out here and I've got them in the order I like. I like them in fish, stingray, crab, and then, fish, stingray, clam, crab. I like that order. Maybe you don't like that order. Maybe you want to come up and move it around. Okay. And so I'd randomly pick a student with my little student picker and I would let them come up and change the order however they want. And they get to come in. Kids love that, even if none of the rhythms change or any of the difficulty changes, they like that, like they're in control of it. And then, so either they could take my 4 in a row and they could redo it and we would do it in their order. Or you could say like, maybe you want to switch out 2 of these. You have to leave 2, but you got to change 2. I don't say you can change all of them because then they'll take forever with all these cards going through all the different options. But I'd say like change 2 if you want. So then they can come up and say like, well, I don't want the stingray and the fish. I want to do the sea turtle and the shrimp. Okay, so they could do that. And then this would just take, I don't know, 5 or 6 minutes of like, we do a couple together. I let kids come up and choose. We play through, we do it. And that'll probably be the end of the activity for that day. Maybe. Okay, so maybe on the next day they come back and I don't choose any. I let kids choose the 4. And I let them do their order and then I let another kid come and mess it up or change it up. You could go up to 8 cards. That'd be like 8 measures worth of rhythms. Another way to increase the difficulty of, instead of just reading it or using body percussion like a clap or a pat, you could absolutely do a non-pitched instrument. Things that I've done recently, I've given every kid a pair of rhythm sticks. That one works really well. I've also done it where I have kids work in pairs. And in pairs, one kid like holds a hand drum and the other kid uses soft mallets on it or uses their fingers or uses their hand or whatever. And then like one kid holds and then the other kid reads the rhythm and plays it and then they switch. Again, it is nice because then you can have more kids playing, more kids doing. They feel like it's fresh because they're switching jobs, they're doing different things. But the difficulty of the rhythms doesn't really change. It just gives them a chance to practice those rhythms more. and experience it more, but like doing it in different ways, which I think gives them a little bit more mastery over the material without being like, let's just read another completely different pattern. Well, it's the same sorts of patterns and the same sorts of rhythms. They're just the way they're interfacing with it changes, and that gives them some really good experience. You could, so like I said, you could do body percussion, you could do just words, you could do hand drums where they share with another person. You could also do non-pitch percussion instruments. There are a lot of ways to change this up if you want. Okay, so the next step I might do with this, which, by the way, I was just showing you the cards that are labeled in the bag that has quarter note and eighth note pair. Another thing that I would probably do for the very next step would be, I have a whole bag of quarter note, eighth notes, and then quarter rests. So these patterns on these, it's the same fish sort of characters, avatars, whatever, but now there are going to be quarter rests involved. So that would level up the difficulty just a little bit. So if they've done the activity already once, you can say like, hey, we're going to try that again, but now we have some new rhythms to try it with. So again, it's nice because they like already know how the activity is going to work. It's just now they're doing it with different rhythms, probably doing it with a different partner. Maybe you could change out the non-pitched instrument if you add that in, so that they're getting more chances to explore and try, but with a very simple set of rhythms, but again, just in a different way with a different material or thing or experience. Another thing you could do is you could have them rotate through instruments. So maybe in like your front row you have hand drums, your second row you have tambourines, your third row you have some sort of shaker, your fourth row you have like a medal or something like a triangle or a finger cymbal or a cowbell or whatever. And you could have them rotate through. So again, they're getting the same experience with the rhythms, but they are doing it in different ways. So they're trying it on different instruments, trying it with different things. So it doesn't feel like it gets stale for them because they're rotating every couple minutes. Maybe they're trying with a new partner. They're just trying it in different ways. Okay, the next step after whole group, after we've done this whole group and they kind of know how it works, is I would probably put them in small groups. Or maybe groups of 2, or I don't know, maybe probably groups of about 2 or 3. And I would give them a bag of cards. So either the quarter notes and eighth notes or the quarter notes and quarter rest, or maybe if you want to do this with another grade, you could move up to the bag that includes half notes if you wanted to level up to the next set of rhythms, or if you want to take this to a next grade level, whatever. But I would, in small groups, I would give them a little card like this. This one says, Crabby Crustacean. And it says, put 4 cards in a row and read their rhythms to keep the crab in a good mood so he doesn't pinch. Okay, that's just like a silly little prompt. But on each spot, you could fit in one of these cards. So let me pull out one of the ones with half notes and half rest. Okay, so again, this would now not, actually probably the first one I do in whole group, I would pull out a card and I would demo how it works, where I would fit in a card, one card on each spot. We'd go through and read it, whatever. But what I would do is each group, I would give them one of these cards. They're not all the same, by the way. So like this one says Crabby Crustacean. The next one says Hunt for a Home with a little hermit crab who needs a thing. Or one says Starlight Starbright. It's got a little starfish on it. Put 4 cards in a row and read their rhythms to help the starfish find his friend. Okay, so they don't really care about the test. They understand like, oh, we're retheming it. And then they have the spots for 4 things. So in each little small group, I would give them a bag of cards. I'd give them like I call these task cards, these big cards. And I would let them go through and put 4 in a row. Maybe then they move it around, they try it around. Maybe I'd give them a non-pitch instrument to go with it, like we had in our whole group instruction, because then they're taking what we've done as a whole group and they already know how to do it, but now they get slightly more control, because in this small group, I'm not dictating like, okay, you guys go first, you guys go next. They get to sort of control how they do it. So they put their 4 cards in a row, and maybe I would, click a cowbell or do something to give them a steady beat, and they read it along with the steady beat as we're going. And then what you could do, again, instead of changing out the rhythms or changing out whatever, is you could have them rotate. Maybe they go from the starfish card to the very next station, which might be the crustacean card, or might be the, whatever. So they could just rotate to the next thing and go around and try it again in a new place. Okay. I would probably give them a little time to work and play with it before we did any rotate or anything like that. But you could also do a thing where like you have them work on this and then share out with the whole class, like what's the pattern you came up with. And they could even, if you gave all the kids the same cards, they could reference, we use the pink fish, we use the blue fish, we use the shrimp, whatever, in case those kids want to follow along or say like, oh, we also use the shrimp in ours. Okay, well then they can share out with the class and it gives them a chance to read through and explore. Another option in this small group is I have a whole set of cards that have just 4 in a row, or if you want to level up, I have a set of these task cards that have 8 different boxes. So then they have a longer rhythm. They have to make more choices. They have to be more proficient because they have to be able to do this for longer. And so instead of just 4 sets of rhythms, you'd have 8. Okay. So there are a bunch of these cards. They're all different themes: octopus, shell, scuba diver, blah, blah, blah. Like they're a bunch. So they're enough that I could spread them out and I could let kids work, again, in small groups and practice this. It is nice, like, it's not a whole group because we're not all doing the exact same thing, but we're all doing the same sort of thing in our own center. So we're coming up with slightly different variations, but it's nice because as they're working, I can rotate around and check in on kids. I can see like, how are they working together? How's this small group thing happening? But I only give them just a few minutes to do it because since we've done this whole group, they should know what to do. Like they should be able to do this already. So it's just it's an easy like next step of like, here's what we're going to do next with this same activity, and they got to sort of take it and run with it. And then the last final thing you can do is you can put it in centers. And this, again, if you follow that process of like, we did it as a whole group, where kids get to make choices, we move to small groups where kids make choices. Once you get to centers, they already know how to do it. Like they've already experienced it, and so giving them the task to do it isn't tricky for them because they've already experienced how it works. The other nice thing about leveling the resource like this is you can start at a younger age with one of these simple rhythms. And then you can go to more complex rhythms. You could eventually move up. I also have bags for 16th notes, and I have bags for 16th note, 8th note pairs. So ta, ti, tika, or tika ti, or ta, di, mi, or takadi, whatever you want to call it. So you can level it up for whatever grade, whatever rhythm set you want, and they can use the same materials. Now, some of my older kids with these more complex rhythms aren't going to be like, party with the plankton, Mr. Rao. What? Okay, but you could use the same cards, or you could just use the bags of cards, and they could use it. And then you could also, instead of like just playing with a non-pitched instrument, you could level it up. You could give them a pitched instrument. You could give them more complex non-pitched instruments. You could like tubanos or something else where they have to play like more tricky rhythms. You could give them different, where like one kid has a triangle and one kid has a wood block and whatever. You could have them work in little ensembles. Again, just using these cards as like a basis for what they could create. So the nice thing is if they've done it with more simple versions, then moving to the complex isn't so hard. If you tried to start with this in centers, I don't think it would work so well because you'd be taking more time to explain, it would take them more time to understand. But if you do it in little snippets where like one day you just do reading the rhythm as a whole group, the next time you see them, you take 5 minutes and you read the rhythms and you let kids change. The next time, if you do that kind of progression of outline, it eases them in. So by the time they get to centers, it's no problem. And then the really fun thing is that I've done this specific resource with like 10 different themes. So like I could choose my like Easter Bunny theme, or I could choose my like zoo animals theme, or my like space theme, or whatever. I even think I have like a Star Wars theme, so that like when we've done this, I don't have to always use the ocean animals, but I can switch it out for like the Star Wars theme, and they know like how the process works. But instead of like the pink fish and the crustacean, the crab or the stingray, now they have like C-3PO and like Leia and whatever. So they're like moving things around in a new way, and for them it feels new because we've rethemed it, but actually it's the same type of activity. Okay, so that's a way where you can take this resource and you can start with whole group, you can move it to small groups, you can add non-pitched percussion, you can add in pitched percussion, you can add in centers work if you want, and then it can sort of evolve over time. But the nice thing is if you start with one thing, you can just slowly build the complexity. So it's not like you're trying to do tons and tons of work at once, but it does take planning. It takes planning, number one, to like get the resource printed out, laminate it, cut it out. Like that takes planning, right? But it also takes planning of like, this week I'm going to do one little piece. Next week I'm going to do another little piece. And the nice thing is like, if you're like, I don't have time for a lot of this, we'll just do like 5 minutes per class, right? So then over time it builds up in complexity. And the other nice thing is like, then you're not like, well, I don't have to have all of this ready all at once. If you just have enough cards that you can do it under a document camera the first week, you're set. And then you can like build out the other stuff as you're going. But it's nice then also if you're like, okay, I want to do this in centers. I don't want to do the ocean theme. I want to do the Easter theme or the spring theme or whatever. You have time to like get the next set like printed out or whatever or ready to go because you've built it, and over time you're going to slowly increase the complexity. Okay, I hope this gives you some ideas of how not only you could use maybe this specific resource if you want, which by the way, these are linked on the links page, or you could take the idea of like starting with something simple and going from simple to complex if you want. Start using that pattern of like starting with something that's very simple in a whole group setting, moving to more student choice and student autonomy in small groups or centers if you want. I hope this gives you an idea for, like I said, this specific resource or any resource, but I hope it gives you some ideas of what you can use in your classroom to make your rhythm reading even more exciting and fun and accessible. Okay, that's all for this week. I will see you hopefully again next week for another Musical Mondays video. Like I said, if you're thinking about the summer and you're like, hey, I want to come and learn, don't forget, put on your radar for ORF levels this summer or Kodai levels or whatever musical training, world music drumming. There's so many great things. Start thinking about it now because summer is coming way faster than you realize, and some of these courses are filling up. So if you're interested in taking ORF level 1 with me or ORF level 2 with me or anyone, start planning on that now because these courses are filling up and you're going to want to have your spot. Okay, I hope I'll see you all next week for another Musical Mondays video. Have a great week with your kids. Bye, everyone.